license for Luther College. Baker Commons, including outdoor service area and Sunday sales privileges. Item F, renewal Class C liquor license for Good Times, including outdoor service area and Sunday sales privileges. Item G, renewal Class C liquor license for Magpie, including Sunday sales. Item H, lawn chair night schedule, Thursdays, June through August. Item I, special event application for Logan's Hope, MDA of Iowa, Saturday, June 26th, 8:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. It's a 5K run. Item J, approve Toppling Goliath tax abatement request. Item K, approve the revised fiscal 21 and fiscal 2 street program. Item L, approve Impact Coffee special event application to close Washington Street from Water to the Alley every Thursday evening, June 10th through August 26th from 3:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. Item M, approve Impact Coffee outdoor service area request each Thursday, June 10th through August 26th. Item N, special event application for Driftless Yoga Festival, June 18th, 4 p.m. through June 20th at 5 p.m. Item O, accept permanent snow removal easement from Tom and Barbara Mossman near 1506, that should be, say, Jordan Drive. Item Q, approve change order number 1 for Court Street and Broadway project, it's minus $173. And resolution 3197, accepting the Court Street improvement project as complete and authorizing the final payment. The total construction cost is $238,542.44. And item R, revocation of the coronavirus action plan.
Please note that Steve Zetagrun is here.
Yep. Sorry.
I move for approval of the consent agenda.
Second, Hadley.
Motion
Hadley.
made, second by Hadley. Any discussion?
Weird, my phone is off. I don't know why it's ringing.
Okay. My only thought is that we got $173 less.
That change order
I
is
just had to
is
note it
minus
because it doesn't happen very
$173.
often. So. Okay, roll call.
Johnson,
Aye.
Hadley,
Aye.
Zitagrun,
Aye.
Luce,
Aye.
Neal. Aye.
Okay, conduct public hearing on a rezoning request for 1506 Jordan Drive from A1 agriculture to R2 single to 4 family residential. And you want to give us some information on that?
Do we let everybody leave?
Sure.
Thanks. All right, this is a rezoning application for a new home at 1506 Jordan Drive. It's a lot that's was formerly zoned agriculture, and they're kind of breaking it off and making it residential. It was approved with unanimously by planning and zoning, and so now it's come to you for approval.
Okay, I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to the council on this item? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Consider ordinance 1276 approving rezoning of 1506 Jordan Drive from A1 agricultural to R2 single to 4 family residential. First reading.
I'll also note there was a variance granted by the Board of Adjustment. Greg can correct me if I'm wrong, but since this lot is not adjacent to a public street, they got a variance for that. But there's an easement that was granted by the adjoining landowner to connect it to the public street system.
And can you talk about the snow easement, just because it's unusual?
Sure. Jeremy might be the better person to explain the reason why we asked for that and required that.
Yeah, so this is a unique street in that there's no cul-de-sac currently. So the street ends and then there was a field fence. And so basically they're going to need an access for their driveway, which will use half the street, which we'd use for snow storage. So we've worked out an arrangement with the adjacent property owner to gain some additional property or additional area on their land to store the snow in the area that we've lost due to the driveway access. So it is a unique situation.
Yeah. I remember him talking about it when, I think it was P&Z was talking about it too.
Hadley would make a motion to move ordinance 1276 as presented.
Zittergren seconds.
Motion made by Hadley, seconded by Zittergruen. Any discussion? Roll call?
Hadley,
Aye.
Zittergrun,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Luce.
Aye.
That's first reading.
Yeah, I would note you can't, I don't think you're going to be able to
That's okay.
waive readings because you don't have enough people.
No, that sounds good. Thanks, Wanda. Just checking.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I know the applicant was kind of hoping that he could get moving forward with building his house, but
The-
um,
Yeah, you have to, there are specifications as to why
we have to have at least
wait till the
6.
next
Yeah.
city council meeting.
Are we missing just one?
Hmm?
We can only waive.
You have to have at least 6 3/4
See, we
of
don't have,
the
we've only
council
got,
seats,
Oh.
so you don't have enough people present.
okay. Okay, conduct hearing on a tobacco violation for backwater streets.
Spirits.
Backwater Spirits.
Spirits, how about that? Backwater spirits, my apology. You got background on that?
Yeah, I'm going to turn it over to John.
The owner of Backwater Spirits, Mr. Larson, is here, and he'll have an opportunity in a moment to make a statement to the council. And just to give you a little bit of background on, and we also have Officer Hop here, who was the police officer involved in the underlying investigation, and he conducts the tobacco and vapor permit checks. And on February 11th, when he was conducting checks, one of the checks they did was at Backwater Spirits, and a clerk working there, Mr. Deeney, did sell a tobacco product to somebody under the age of 21, and he was cited for that. And subsequently, he did pay the fine in court, which is pleading guilty to it, and there was not a trial. And under Iowa code, the permitting authority then has to assess a penalty against the retailer, which is, again, Backwater Spirits LLC. But they're also given an opportunity for a hearing before the permitting authority. And just as a somewhat side note or related note, if the city council does not pursue this, then the state of Iowa Attorney General's office does, and it's an administrative hearing through the state of Iowa. So again, the assessing the $300 fine for a first-time violation, and this permittee has had no other violations, is a mandatory $300 fine. If they don't pay that within 30 days, then there's a suspension of the permit for a period of time.
Okay.
So just for clarity, if we don't assess the $300 fine or change that, then they have to go to the state. Is that what you were saying?
Well, no, sorry, I might have misstated that. The Iowa code says the permitting authority shall assess the fine if charges are filed. And we, for some period of time, the city of Decorah has, I'll use the term prosecute, but it's an administrative proceeding, has prosecuted these cases. And typically the reason why it's not really been on your radar, is they usually sign a settlement agreement and accept a $300 fine. We have that agreement with the Attorney General's office. If the city doesn't want to do that, then we notify the Attorney General's office that we no longer want to prosecute these cases, and we hand over authority to the state of Iowa. But in this case, so we have, just so you know, we have 60 days from the adjudication of the underlying case to assess the penalty. And if the city council doesn't assess the penalty, then the state of Iowa takes over jurisdiction.
And the hearing is that we allow the owner of Backwater Spirits to be able to
Yes,
talk. Okay.
absolutely. And he has the option, or he has the opportunity to make statements, and if we were to have witnesses, he could ask those witnesses
Okay.
questions. I did give him a copy of the exhibits that are in your file as well.
Okay.
So,
So can I ask a few more questions before you?
Sure.
Because I need to figure this out. So, you're saying, because I've never seen this before in my time on council. I'm the new, well, Steve's
I
new,
haven't
but-
seen it either.
Okay, so, so you're saying that other places have violations, they just come in and pay the $300, that's why we don't see it?
well, you see it on your agenda, but it's usually on the consent agenda.
Right.
So I could tell you in 2020 or 2019, I believe, this is public record. We've had, I think both cases have been cited. Nordic Express was cited. I think Walmart was cited last year, and maybe Nordic Express in one of the cases was cited in 2019. So those are the ones that I remember. And in those cases, just as general background, and I did this in this case too, so the enforcement officer notifies me when there's been an operation and somebody has sold a product to somebody underage. We have to wait until the clerk, the employee, their case is adjudicated. And again, I'm going off of memory here. Each one of those cases I can remember, the clerk always paid the fine. I don't know that there's ever been a trial that I can remember in the last number of years.
Okay.
So so that's the adjudication. Adjudication would either be a trial where they're found guilty or innocent, or they plead, and that's paying the fine. Then after that adjudication, the permitting authority has 60 days, and the code is very clear. It says, and I'm kind of cutting out the extraneous language, if a retailer or employee of a retailer has violated section 453A.2, the local authority shall assess a penalty upon the same hearing and notice as prescribed in some subsection 1 as follows. And the fine for first violation is a civil penalty in the amount of $300. Failure to pay the civil penalty as ordered under this subsection shall result in automatic suspension of the permit. So there is one affirmative defense that a retailer can have, and that's if the employee's been through specific training put on by the state of Iowa.
Okay.
So the question is, why is this different? Why are we seeing this now? If they paid the fine, why is this happening now?
Two different fines, two different penalties, two different defendants. In the first one, it was a criminal complaint, and it was filed in the court against the clerk. That was not an action against the retailer.
So this is we're handling the retailer side because they did not appear and pay.
They don't even get a chance. They don't get it. They are not part of the adjudication in court of the case against the clerk who sold the tobacco product. So, and it's kind of a unique part of the code where the employer or the permit holder is assessed a penalty for a violation done by one of its agents or employees. So there's essentially two adjudications that go on, but the second one against the permit holder is ipso facto automatically a fine because of the adjudication of the underlying case, unless there's some unique circumstance that I haven't seen, not just in this case, but other cases.
It just seems like this is costing us more than $300 with your time and now this time and Officer Hop's time.
Yeah, and that's something we could talk about later, is just handing this back over to the state to adjudicate. I think, I mean, not that it's any issue for you folks, I think those get adjudicated in Polk County if somebody were to contest it. And I asked Rick Zahaski one time why the council even bothers to have the city attorney follow these, and his comment to me was, at one point there was a concern about the state dropping these, not following through on the adjudication. Since I've been doing this, after the officer cites the clerk, usually the AG's office follows up with the city clerk pretty quickly. So I think it would be reasonable, and maybe I'd recommend, that in the future we just hand this back over to the state of Iowa. It's not been an issue because before, for the last number of years, this has taken up a very short amount of anybody's time. But, you know, you get a
Okay.
situation like this, and it does take more.
So I'll ask if the owner wishes to address the council. If you come up, and then state your name and your address, that would be great.
Name is Stephen Larson, owner
Can-
owner of Backwater Spirits and More.
There you go. Thank you.
Stephen Larson, 107 Parkview Drive, number 2, Decorah, Iowa. I don't want to take up any more time. This was an attempt to just put some transparency to this process. I also don't blame Officer Hop for any of this. I mean, literally his hands are tied in this. And I know the rule, I know the laws, they're very clear. Penalties are mandatory for both the clerk and the owner, or retailer, as it is. And I just think that it could be handled a bit differently. Now, I've given a copy of a statement that I wrote out right after this incident happened back in February. Dustin Deeney is a friend. He occasionally, rarely, watches my store for me. We were literally going over the fact that the age had just been increased to 21. When the young person walked in, went to the humidor, grabbed a really nice $10 cigar, brought it up, talking to Dustin about this, make sure and card him, make sure he's 21. His focus was on the customer. He didn't hear that part. Bought the cigar, walked out, and I said, okay, you made sure he's 21, right? Now, this is all in the statement. And he said, well, no, he was almost 20, but you only have to be 18. I'm like, dude, that's what I was telling you right then. So anyway, he's like, no, oh no, and you know, we both felt terrible. I'm like, I knew it instantly that it was a compliance check and he was too young. I went out to talk to the officer. We had a brief exchange, and I tried to explain the situation. And of course, you know, the transaction happened. I won't deny that. It happened. And his hands were tied. And he's like, I have to write a complaint. Here's the process. We go through it. So I guess one of the points I'd like to make is that we give our police officers leeway in, one could argue, much more dangerous situations to make judgment calls. The fact that his hands were literally tied by the laws as they're written, and I understand why they exist, and it's good that they exist, but you know, he wasn't even able to listen to this unique and bizarre circumstance of why this happened. Therefore, Dustin gets fined, which is hefty, all in 210 something. I'm gonna get a $300 penalty, and it just stinks. And I just thought somebody should point this out from a retailer standpoint. You know, I'm a one-man store, and had this incident happened 2 minutes before or 2 minutes later, it wouldn't have never happened, because either I would have been at the register and not made the sale, I'm scrupulous about that, or Dustin would have actually heard me tell him that it's now 21, which a lot of people still don't even know. In fact, the city attorney's first complaint that he sent to me had the 18-year rule in it. So, other than defending my honor and my reputation, I guess that's about the only reason I'm here, and I just wanted to put it out there so that you guys knew that this can happen. And you know, it's frustrating when there's no recourse at all for anything like that, and even for the officer. I mean, he's stuck, and I think we should trust them a lot more than just to tie their hands like that in a situation.
I appreciate you coming before the council. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you.
And that was not opening or closing, so we can go on to the next item.
Yeah, I offer, I've got exhibits in the file, but they basically go over what Mr. Larson just stated. And like I mentioned, Officer Hop is here. I don't really have anything
Okay.
further to add to the record.
To his point, speeding violations are subjective on officer call. What is the ordinance? What is the difference in law that does not allow subjectivity?
Yeah, you're right. I say that all the time. Like city ordinances, we have some discretion in enforcement. And I'll say that all the time. We try to give people the benefit of the doubt. You know, and we try to get people on the right path. This is a state statute that's dictated to us from the legislature. And there's the language shall in here, and I'm going off of the directions that we get from the Attorney General's office, and they say that there's no discretion on the part of the permitting authority to, let's say, lower the fine or do anything like that. Like Mr. Larson stated.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
As long as it's codified, then I'm good to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is he,
But
oh,
Go
sorry, yeah, thank you. Is he enforcement, are the checks regular, is there a certain schedule that our safety officers have to do? Is this once a year, or how often are these checks run? Is that part of our contract with the state or agreement with the state?
Yeah, I guess I would have Officer Hop maybe explain that without going into detail about when the checks are done, but just so the council understands, and I guess the public understands what the process is for this.
And can I ask, I just one question before, so my understanding is, so you walked outside the minute the kid walked outside to the officer? Is that what happened? You,
I followed, no, I looked out the window, saw the kid get into the patrol car.
got it.
And I knew it in my gut anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when Officer Hop got out of his car and
Okay.
Could you come up and just give, without details as to when you're going to be doing these things, as that's the point?
Officer Logan Hop. We do these checks once a year, and every year we do a 2080 agreement with the Alcoholic Beverage Division, and it's basically just us partnering with this program. It's called the I Pledge program. So we're going to do them every year, and typically it's between November and May. Not going to say specifically what days, but yep, we check them just once, and if they're non-compliant, then we go back and we check them again before a cutoff date.
So that's similar to like Click It or Ticket or
Yeah,
or
there's
those other
it's similar that there's
reoccurring-
programs for it.
Yeah.
So this is just one of the programs that we do. And as far as I'm concerned, or not concerned, but the details that I've been given or the records go back to 2015. I was just talking with Captain Herman prior to this, and he said that we've been doing them much longer than that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, then the next would be consider assessing penalty against Backwater Streets Spirits LLC for violation of Iowa Code Section 453A.2.
You stated you thought more was pertinent. Ross?
Is there anything,
What's that?
You stated you thought we're doing a lot of time on this and it should be more?
Oh, no, I just felt like more management time than $300 has been done on this, and I didn't understand why we were doing this versus the other times that we've had enforcement issues and it's been on the consent agenda. That was my question. I don't feel that the fine is necessarily unjust or whatnot.
so what is the procedure for this?
I mean, our hands are,
Well, I think just,
Or if
You
they,
have
or
to
is there any
approve.
I'd move
procedure?
an assessment of $300 fine against the Backwater Spirits.
Yeah, in compliance with Iowa code.
Correct.
I think that would be sufficient.
I'll second it.
A motion made by Luce, second by Johnson. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I'll just say that I know Steve pretty well, and I'm not too well. I want to be clear, but before I got to know him a little better, and he never misses on a wine bottle recommendation if I tell him what I'm having for dinner. Before he got to know me, he was scrupulous about IDing me, even though I think I look 50. And so I just want to sort of say that in terms of that he is, as far as I think he can be, a pretty law-abiding citizen. I think it stinks that our hands are tied because I don't think $10 cigars being sold to youth is as much of a problem in our community as other areas where maybe there could be a little more enforcement. And I'm talking about nicotine alternatives and Juuls and smoking starting at a younger and younger age. So I guess it's like Steve said, it's unfortunate that that our officers' hands are sort of tied in this because it's not necessarily where I like to see a whole lot of our city's enforcement energy go when there are probably other things we could get a lot better payback on. But
Okay. Motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Luce,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Hadley,
Aye.
Neal,
aye.
Sittergren.
Aye.
Resolution 3196, setting July 6, 5:45 PM as the date and time for a public hearing on a request for rezoning of property and conditional rezoning agreement.
Okay, I'm going to turn this over to John as well.
You're earning that money today, John.
All right, so talking about consent agendas, this is often something we have on consent agendas, is setting the public hearing. But my recommendation was to have this on the regular agenda so that the council, if anybody that's here has any concerns about the way the condition, well, this is for rezoning, but the rezoning is also tied to the conditional rezoning agreement. Let's hash out those, try to hash out those issues now, because we could, assuming that there was a majority vote, and this is a resolution, so that has to be by a majority of the council to set the public hearing. And when you set the public hearing, you also set forth the proposed terms of the ordinance and the conditional rezoning agreement tied to it. So if there's something you don't like in what we have drafted, it's better to hash that out now, because if we wait until after the public hearing, we have to reset it all over again. And the applicant also, before the public hearing, has to sign the conditional rezoning agreement, agreeing to the conditions imposed.
I believe we discussed this at Economic Development and Property Committee meeting.
Correct.
Okay.
Just give me a minute, I'm pulling it up. I read it.
So we're looking for a motion for resolution 3196.
Do you want him to go over the terms,
Yeah.
just so everyone understands the terms of it?
So going back,
You could rewrite them in the public anyway.
we discussed much of this back in February when this matter was tabled. However, there was a change after that, and there was significant discussion with the applicant about what we refer to as a riparian buffer, and that is to set aside a specific amount of the applicant's land adjacent to the Upper Iowa River. And it's 17 acres more or less adjacent to the Upper Iowa River. And to be clear, certain amount, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, some of that's already essentially idle, but it's not in a CRP program or anything like that. This agreement would require the applicant no later than 6 months from the date of the approval of the rezoning ordinance to enroll as much of the riparian buffer as possible, but no less than 4 acres in a riparian buffer program of the FSA. And that's got to be for at least 10 years. But the applicant must maintain the 17-acre riparian buffer area for no less than 15 years from the date of the enrollment in the CRP program. And just so I make sure I've got the right language here, when I was gone, there was some discussion about changing one word, I think, in the agreement. Final. Mayor, does that sound right?
I think it had to do with the beginning where it was 6 months, no later than 6 months.
Yep.
At the date of the approval of the final rezoning ordinance.
So that's on page 4 of 11. Small Roman numeral I, no later than 6 months from the date of the approval of the final rezoning ordinance.
Meaning that they don't need to put it into CRP under conditional zoning. They need to do it if they get final zoning approval.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
And that had been discussed and
That has
talked about.
So, and then just quickly summarizing the rest of the agreement, which we did talk about a few months ago, but it's been a while. The rest of the conditional rezoning agreement sets out the process, because this goes back to that chicken or egg type situation. Does the applicant, the developer, go to Board of Adjustment first to get the fill permit for the property, or do they go to the Planning and Zoning and City Council to get the rezoning and also the site plan approved? And to be clear, even if you wanted to rezone it, you can't rezone it without that fill permit because the elevation is too low currently to bring it out of the F1 floodplain. But in order to bring it out of the F1 floodplain, you got to have a fill permit that would be approved by the Board of Adjustment, and Army Corps of Engineers is involved in that as well. And this agreement is binding, but there is a provision in there. If there's some substantial change, the council could reconsider, but absent, and that's kind of I understand it's subjective, but absent some extraordinary change in circumstances, if the council approves the rezoning and the applicant hits each of these benchmarks, it shall be rezoned. But the applicant has 2 years to get that fill permit approved. And another little nuance I guess I'll throw out here, when you rezone, we've got to tie it to a legal description. And the legal description that's being used in here is based upon the prior application. The developer has told us they don't have somebody waiting right now to come in here. So this is somewhat of an educated guess. It's always possible they get somebody that comes in and says they want a larger or smaller footprint. And I throw out a smaller footprint because they might not want to have as much land rezoned, potentially, depending on who it is, because that's expensive, because you got to put that fill in, so they might shrink that.
Wait, can I ask you a question on this?
Yep.
So if an applicant comes in and wants a larger area than we have conditionally rezoned, this process starts over, correct?
That's right.
I mean, we have not,
That's right.
okay.
That's
okay.
right. Yep.
So this is the current, we are conditionally rezoning what we have seen as the footprint. Nothing different.
That's correct. 16.75 acres, and it's that hexagon-shaped piece. But if they wanted larger, the process would start over.
And we would not be bound to this.
No,
Okay.
and I'll just read you. So, Okay. On page 5 of 11, little e, said fill permit application must be for the real estate covered by the legal description stated above for the development property. If a fill permit is granted that is not for the exact legal description of the development property identified above, said fill permit will not be considered in compliance or valid for purposes of this agreement or the related zoning ordinance. So. And if there's something in here you think is not clear, the language or something, I've got no pride of authorship. I'd rather make it clear and revise it.
I'm confused by the riparian section on 4A3 looks to be struck to me.
Sorry, that's my that's my editing. It's supposed to be in there, and my user problems, because I think when we were editing this, we had used strike-throughs, and I could not get that out.
But that is part of the language.
It is part of
Yeah.
the language, yes, yes.
Well, you quoted it, but I had seen it was still struck, and that's why I was
No.
confused by the.
I will work on getting that.
I can show you how if you'd like.
Okay. I had this on another document today, too, where I could not get it out.
I got
But
it
but
out
my
on-
hourly's
on the
pretty high
laptop.
there.
All right.
I
got
have a
it out
question
on
when
the
you
one
got a
copy,
second.
John.
I
I'll
believe there's
just
white out.
Get it out.
Well, whiteout's always the fail-safe.
Okay, so I have a question, just to be clear for myself. On that letter E, so if somebody comes in and wants less property like you talked about, then it still starts over.
That's right. That's right. I would most likely counsel the council in that situation that if you've already approved a larger footprint, what's your reasonable basis for denying a smaller footprint? But with that said, you know, there could be all sorts of engineering issues. I have no idea, could foresee or understand that I'm not trying to tie your hands, but absent those exceptional circumstances, you would be hard-pressed not to approve it.
I have a question that I hadn't anticipated, previously until, I guess, events of the last week have taught me a little bit more about zoning and site plans. Could you advise me, the council, on the extent to which once something is rezoned, say for this land, or I'm thinking about the new gas station that is sort of being talked about too. If a suggested use or site plan is conforming to the zoning of a land, there's not my understanding is there's just not very much leverage that the council might have. So basically any conforming use of this land, if they successfully, get the land rezoned commercial, there's not leverage, there's not a chance for us to sort of say no, provided they're following all the rules. Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
Mhm.
Yeah, as long as it is an endeavor that is allowed in that zoning district, you don't have any authority to deny it, because you say we've got too many of something in town.
And to be clear, I know that the gas station thing is coming, that's not now, that's not what we're talking about, but that's what made me think of it with regard to this particular agreement. I guess, I don't know if this changes the way that I feel about it, but I have been under the impression that there was going to be, a site plan approval process that would involve a fair amount of council say-so, and so I was surprised, I guess, by the information I've learned.
There's certainly a site plan approval, but that's not to say you're approving the aesthetics, so to speak. It's making sure that it meets up with city zoning code or state code. I know on the prior Menards application, we spent a lot of time talking about parking spaces, handicap accessibility, all sorts of things. And those are kind of nitty-gritty details that mostly get worked out through P&Z. They do a large part of the lifting along with the zoning administrator and the city engineer on working that stuff out. So when it comes to the council, hopefully the more nitty-gritty details are all worked out.
Okay. So, we're looking for a resolution. Motion second approval for 3196.
Hadley would make a motion for Resolution 3196, setting the July 6, 5:45 public hearing.
Neil, seconds.
Motion made by Hadley, seconded by Neal. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Hadley,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Zittergrun,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Luce.
Aye.
Okay. Consider street department request to use additional road use funds for vehicle purchase.
Okay, I think you all know that the city received some additional funds through the Coronavirus Response and Relief Act, $77,396 and change. The street department would like to use some of that to purchase another pickup truck. Given their increased staff, they really need some additional vehicles. If Jeremy has anything else to add to that. I think you've all seen the letter in the Dropbox, but that's basically your request.
Hadley will keep it rolling. Hadley will will move to approve the additional road use funds toward a vehicle purchase.
Luce will second.
Motion made by Hadley, second by Luz. Any further discussion?
I assume they're gonna wait for the new electric F-150?
It will, though, not be purchased till fiscal '22,
Okay.
just to be clear about that.
Okay, thank you. Hearing none. Roll call?
Hadley,
Aye.
Luce,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Zittergrun.
Aye.
Consider approval to move forward with Phase 1 Smid College Drive Greenscape Project.
I move to approve.
Motion made by Zittergrun,
Hadley seconds.
seconded by Hadley. Discussion?
Just a question in the background notes. I noticed that the adjacent business owners had been approached and hadn't offered any concern, but I guess I had a discussion with Don at Don's Towing, and that wasn't the impression I got from him, that he was on board with this project, and so I'm just curious if you could speak to that.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'll
thanks.
turn that over to Jeremy. I didn't personally speak with them, so.
Yeah, we only approached the business owners in phase 1 so far. So his proposed project is phase 2. So
I'm
that'll be-
sorry, in the picture that I saw today, I thought the picture was of phase 1, but I guess not. Okay, that's fine then. Thank you.
But the picture, the green part's the only part that's phase 1.
Yeah,
In the picture, there is grass right in front of Don's, I'm pretty sure.
I don't think
Oh, so I guess that's not the one I was looking at, but that's okay. Thank you. That does answer my
you're
question.
right, an older one did. Yeah, when we were looking at preliminary concepts. The ones in the Dropbox do not.
If you scroll down just one from what everyone is looking at, I'm just not crazy. It's right there, I promise.
Oh, I see, okay.
Oh, farther down, is that what you're looking at?
Okay, I see where you're
Yeah.
looking at.
It does kind of look like it.
Thank
Yeah.
you, everyone, for affirming that I have eyes.
Okay.
And are you saying he doesn't want greenscaping?
I don't necessarily know, he is not in favor of this project. I guess, I don't know if he wants me quoting him. I was just surprised to see that I misunderstood what phase 1 included. Thank you.
Well, he'll have his opportunity in phase 2, so. Okay, roll call?
Zittergrun,
Aye.
Hadley,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Luce.
Aye.
Motion carried. Consider approval of concept of the Vesterheim curb extension request.
Okay, so as I understand it, Vesterheim and their engineers would just like some assurances that the council is okay with that proof of concept of having that curb come out into the street and that curb extension area before they move forward with final plans and the final site plans. So that's why that's before you now.
I move that we approve the concept.
Second it.
Motion made by Zittergrun, seconded by Neal. Any further discussion? I'll only make a comment that I walked through the Heritage Garden. I'm going to say it that, I think it's, okay. Heritage Garden, if you have not gone through that, please go through. They have inserted numerous plants, trees. It's very nice to sit there. It's beautiful, and I was amazed how much plantings that you've done in that area. It's going to be very advantageous for our inside the city or downtown, I should say.
We planted over 100 trees and put in about close to 4 large truckloads of perennials.
That's what I thought.
Awesome.
So, okay, that being said, roll call.
Sittergroon.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Hadley.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Luce.
Aye.
Boards and commission apps, 2 positions for the civil service. There should be some action on that coming in the next meeting. And then we have 1 open position, Board of Adjustment, Ron Onsager. His application was in the Dropbox. I had happened to talk to him a while ago. Well, I went over there to talk to him about vehicles. But he had said that he was going to be semi-retiring fairly shortly and would be interested in looking at something else. And I said, well, when I have something, I'll let you know. And I called him up about the Board of Adjustment, and he was interested in putting in his application. And that, thank you, Wanda, for the information. That is not a mayoral appointment. That is strictly a city council vote.
Correct.
I move to appoint Ron Onsager to the open position on the Board of Adjustment.
Luce would second.
Motion made by Johnson, seconded by Luce. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call.
Johnson.
Aye.
Luce.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Hadley.
Aye.
Sittergroon.
Let that be an example for people who really would like to get involved in city government to just come forth and put it in an application. So, okay, city manager, department head, and council reports.
Okay, so I have a couple things. Your city manager search. Today is the deadline for that. As of about 3 o'clock this afternoon, we have 34 applicants, which is
Nice.
huge.
It's great.
So, yep, there's 34 applicants. The consultant is going through them as we speak. They will be bringing 10 to 12 to you for consideration on doing virtual interviews. That meeting is scheduled, if you remember, for next Monday, to do that on June 14th, to review those applications, and then probably select 6 or 7, whatever you're comfortable with, of that group, to do virtual interviews, which will be on Wednesday, then the 16th.
Can we have access to all of them so we can see them before they? I mean, I'm just curious. As I watch what they read down, I'd like to see them all. Actually.
I would have to ask them about that.
Okay.
I mean, this is just the way they usually do it, and so this is the process that I was given. The candidates for those 10 to 12 that they intended to bring forward will all sign a confidentiality agreement and a request for closed session. So that meeting on the 14th and on the 16th will be held in closed session. So that gives you the opportunity to kind of talk more openly about those things and keep some confidentiality for the candidates until you reach that final determination of who you want to bring in for your final interviews in July.
And this is virtual?
The ones next week will be virtual on
Okay.
the 16th. And from that, then you will eliminate, or you'll decide which ones you want to go on and be the finalists. So however many you decide, last time we did 3, when we hired Chad, we did 3.
That was for the final interviews.
Those were the final interviews that you brought here for in-person
Mhm.
interviews and to meet the public, at which time all your finalists will understand that their names are released and it's public at that point.
And that's July 9th?
That's July 9th and 10th.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so we'll have to have some discussions on, as we get closer, how exactly we want to handle that and how we want to work through that process. But the virtual interviews will then be June 16th. And I think, it's kind of up to you guys what time you want to get started with that. I was told that Monday's meeting where you just kind of go through their top, 10 to 12. Every city's a little different, but it can run anywhere from like a half hour to 2 hours, depending on how much discussion the council wants to have, and you will definitely see those prior to that meeting.
Right. I just want to, I'd like an idea of how we would, I want to see the whittling, that's all.
Hey, do you, and can we check if Hinson uses like rubrics to rank and go through the applications? I mean, I don't need to know how to do that, but I know.
I don't know
we
what
talked.
what process the
Okay.
consultants use.
We did
to-
talk a little bit that there would maybe be council people that would have wanted to look through all of the applications.
Yeah, and I mean, I kind of want to know their rubric, like, I mean, I assume that they're looking at a rubric as they go through them. But if
I
you-
can't tell you, because I don't know.
Well, I guess I'm asking, should I reach out to them, or do you want to reach out to them? I just want to ask those things. Because if they're going to use a rubric and go through the 34, I'd like to know what the rubric is. Otherwise, I would like to go through the 34 and just see, do we come up with the same 10? Curious.
I can talk to them tomorrow.
Time-wise, for me, that week, if we could do it before or after, would be good.
Before or after what?
4 o'clock.
Okay,
sorry.
so to set a time for
Yeah.
next Monday's meeting, June 14th.
And that's for the 14th, correct?
Yes.
Let's see, I can't
No.
be here next Monday.
And that's virtual?
I can be here virtually.
That would be good.
It's closed next Monday, it's a closed session, right?
Yeah.
It is a closed session, and the virtual interviews what we intended was for the interviews to be virtual, rather than everybody coming here, there would be virtual interviews.
So we would all be
But-
on Zoom essentially, everyone?
Yes,
Okay. well, then it doesn't
those
matter.
interviews will all be on Zoom, but I guess I see no issue if you can't be here in person on Monday for whatever reason, but you could Zoom in to be involved in those discussions where, you select those you're going to interview by Zoom on Wednesday. I guess that's up to the council, but I
How
don't
does that
see a problem
impact
with
our-
that.
Our rules of closed session is not allowed.
Oh, that's
for-
right, because it is a
That's
closed
right.
session, so it
That's
doesn't
right.
allow that. That's right. No,
Not in closed
not
session.
in closed session.
Well, let's see, who else might not be here on Monday?
Could
Well, you
Kirk,
gotta make sure you have
I
a
mean,
quorum.
if we all get the information in the Dropbox, could he at least make his opinions known? I mean,
You can
to
do
be,
one.
to be shared with us?
Yeah, well, I think he can, if he
Weigh
wants to
in.
share with me what he thinks of the, candidates when that paperwork comes out, that would, I think that's fine,
Okay.
if you want to rank them.
And I don't know, so the deadline was today, we're gonna meet Monday.
Mhm.
I guess I don't wanna wind up with the final 10 on Sunday night, if I would ask. You know what I mean, like, I
would
have to work
trust
Monday, and
that,
so I
you know,
wanna have some space.
Because they've been looking at them
Okay,
as they've been coming through. I mean, it's not like they just got them all today.
okay,
So I trust that they will be available before Sunday night.
great.
I'm free whenever after 4.
It needs to be after 5 for me.
Perfect, that even better for me.
Well, do you want to just do it at 5 o'clock or 5:45?
5:15 would be, give me enough
5:15.
time just to,
And virtual interviews on Wednesday at 5:15 too, starting then? Sure.
Yeah, okay, so now for the virtual interviews, and if you can't start earlier, so be it, but that could go then later.
Say that again?
I mean, that could go later, because
Okay.
I would imagine you have to plan 25 to 30 minutes for each candidate. So,
On Wednesday, it's virtual. Oh,
And there's a library.
P&Z is at 5:30 on Monday. Let me talk to the consultant.
we could go to the basement of the library, or we could go to the small room.
Kristen, can we go to the library basement?
There's a library commission meeting
Do you
next
still have,
Monday, too.
No,
is
they
that
have-
room still full?
Library board meets at 4. Here. Okay.
We're not meeting till 5:15, library board will be open.
Yeah.
How are you gonna send the applicants through Dropbox? Isn't that a good idea to send confidentiality if Dropbox is open?
Yeah, I'll just probably, I think I'll have to either send it personally to each person. I would not put it on Dropbox. I would not put it in Dropbox, no. I didn't intend to put it
Perhaps
in
the consultant
Dropbox.
can have a Dropbox and grant the council members access to their Dropbox, so it's not public record. We're just accessing a repository that they have. I'm sure that they have encountered this before because they're,
I'll just forward it to the
Yeah.
council.
okay.
It doesn't need to be in Dropbox for any reason.
But if you forward us things, it becomes
Yeah.
public record. Right?
Not when they've all asked for it to be confidential and closed session,
And it
and
would
it's not a public record.
There's exceptions, and one is personal employment records. And there's another one that may also apply in this situation. That at this time, now that's not to say after the hiring process is done, that some of that might not become public.
Right, but
Okay.
for now, since they are all signing those closed session requests, it won't be public.
Another option might be the PD conference room. They have capabilities for Zoom in there, don't they?
We'll talk about that, and we'll get back
Okay.
to you
That sounds
as to how we're gonna handle that. Okay, all right, I think that wraps that up. So 5:15 to confirm, 5:15 next Monday.
And Wednesday, yep.
And I think you all know Ice Cave Road has been formally vacated and is now conveyed to the city. No changes to the closure setup has been made, so right now it's just kind of status quo. League meeting in September. I think you all got that information. A couple of you have already signed up, so that's awesome. And I will get those refunds to you. And so anyone who chooses to sign up, just make sure that I get the registration so I can get you refunded for those
And
registration
usually
fees.
there's a carpool for going down on Wednesday, correct?
Yeah, we'll figure that out as it gets closer. It'll depend on, a lot of that depends on how many
Gotcha.
people go.
I
and-
understand.
Can you just register me so I don't have to submit a reimbursement?
Well, we have gotten away from that, Ross, simply because we had a problem. You know, people would sign up and then all of a sudden they decide they don't want to go. And then they can't do the work themselves. I have to go through and I have
Oh,
to.
gotcha.
do
Okay,
all
never
the
mind.
work
Yeah,
To,
thanks.
to try to, cancel the room, cancel the registration. So we've just kind of gone to everyone
So
make
we're on
your
our,
own.
we're on our own for rooms too. We need to do that tomorrow.
You'll need to do that tomorrow, because I think that opens tomorrow. Tomorrow or Wednesday, is it the 8th or the 9th?
Yeah,
It's
just a
tomorrow.
reminder that if you aren't on the ball on this, you could end up at a hotel far away from the
Yeah.
conference.
Exactly.
And you really
exactly.
want to stay at the conference. It's a great place to
Yeah.
stay.
Yeah, you do, and you do want to stay at the conference center. Absolutely. So make sure you do get on that tomorrow, because there's only a
should
certain
do.
number of blocks of rooms
Okay.
that they save. Okay. And then last but not least, the clerk's office, our office over there, would like to initiate a summer hour schedule. In talking to staff, what they are thinking, what they would like to do, and I think what we have decided on is that everyone will come in at 7:30. They'll take a half-hour noon, and we'll close the office at 4. So everyone will still continue to work their 40 hours. We will just try this for the summer. We have not, this isn't something we've done in the past, but I think staff is pretty excited about the opportunity to do this for this summer. So I think we are going to move forward and do that.
How many people still come in and are paying bills and stuff? I mean, I'm cognizant of, there's so many things that shut down in our town at 4 o'clock, and when you work, it is very hard to get the things done that you need to
Well,
get
you know,
done.
we talked about that, and the way I look at that is a lot of people work till 5, and we close at 5, and they have no opportunity to come into our office.
But
now
it's
they'll
easier to
be
say
able-
to your boss, like, I need to leave 15 minutes early, as opposed to, I gotta leave an hour early.
Yeah, well, now they can come in before work, because now people can come in at 7:30. Most of our departments do close at 4, year-round. And I know the courthouse closes at 4. They start at 8, close at 4, but we're proposing to start at 7:30, so people would be able to come in before work, normal work hours. A lot of people's work hours start.
So do our other departments start at 7:30 and end at 4?
No, most of them start at 7 and close at 4.
Well, it would be worth, doing the trial period for the summer and see how many,
Right.
how many conflicts of interest it is for people that can't get in.
Can you define summer,
Well,
just for clarity?
we were going to start through August
Thank you.
and see how it goes.
Yeah.
So anyway, I will report back when I know that, but we will send out a press release so that the community knows that. And of course, we'll put it on the website. And we'll do what we can to make sure that the public knows. But quite frankly, we don't have a lot of traffic after 4 o'clock. And we do have a drop box. If someone's just paying a water bill, we have a drop box that you don't have to come into City Hall. It's right outside the front door.
Well, it's more, I realize we don't have a city manager, but it is actually more of like, if you want to see the city manager or the city clerk for other things related, not.
Right. Well, like I said, again, I almost think that being open before 8 o'clock is really advantageous for a lot of people, that they can stop before work, because a lot of people can't even come after 4. They can't come till 5. And chances are, if they want to see the city manager or myself, they want more than 15 minutes.
Well, and they can they can
They can
call
set
and
up an
set up an
appointment.
appointment to
Right.
their time period.
Right.
If that's what's needed.
Right. So, anyway, that's all I have.
We will have, you and Jeff and I got together and we're clarifying some of the information for the proposal for the consultants for the fire department.
Right,
and
that'll
that
be on
would
the next agenda.
That'd be on the next agenda.
Yep.
Okay, anything over at the table come before?
Just got a couple things to report on. We passed our annual toxicity tests. We also finished up hauling a couple weeks ago. We hauled 800,000 gallons, covered about 52 acres. Very dry spring, so we were able to haul about 300,000 extra gallons out this year. And then also, we just started the recertification process on our lab. There's a lot of extra testing that we're going to be doing for the next 2-3 months. But hopefully, August, September, we'll get the word from the EPA if we passed or not. But I'm pretty confident we'll work through the process and everything will turn out just fine, though.
Good.
Just want to let most of you know that I'm going to be gone for our technology conference most of next week. We'll be available if you need help with your things like that. Also, I'll probably be giving you a report here soon. I'm in the process of working on a security level team with the state and feds. And I've inquired about getting some high-level CISA security stuff done inside our network. So I will have to come to you and let you know if I get granted that opportunity, because you'll have to sign off, basically, in a sense, allowing them to hack inside our network to see where our weaknesses and things like that are. So I'm kind of excited about it. It's usually a very expensive process to go through, but I'm going to be trying to get that as one of the guinea pigs for the state.
Any update on the OCIO grants, Chopper?
I got one form from one of the ladies, unofficial. They had thought it would be out by the end of June, is all she's saying. but I got one form that kind of just lays out some of the new curriculum. Nothing official.
Anybody else? Okay. Emily?
Nothing at this time, Mayor. Thank you.
Steve?
There was a good SMID meeting last week, and looking at some of the plans for the College Drive and the greening. This talk about dining and that process, and an offer for some cement car stops that are not being utilized that we might be able to be given. So that was encouraging. Other than that, just concerned that we be very aware of our ordinances of traffic rules, including stops and speed limits during this time of children being out of school. And I'm very concerned in my neighborhood of just the amount of people who hightail it, basically, through residential areas. So that's a concern I have for the summer traffic and safety of our community.
Okay. Thank you, Steve. Steve?
I was going to no report this one, but anytime I have a chance to piggyback on someone complaining about people driving too fast on the west side, I'm going to do it. You're absolutely right. It's crazy and it's dangerous. So if you're out there and have a heavy foot, just think about all the kids. Thanks.
Ross?
Nothing,
Ross?
Mayor. Thank you.
Kirk?
Nothing, Mayor.
Okay, I've only got, we talked about the economic members, three council members, Randy, Kirk, and Steve, getting together with Winchester County Economic Development. We're going to be doing that this week and having some discussions. I did participate in the dedication out of the Bowstring Bridge, which there were several dignitaries there. It was very interesting to learn about the wheel and how it worked. The only other thing, it's not too often, but I really want to express my sympathy to Darren Swenson and Dawn for the passing of their mother. She was very active in the community, just like her kids have been, but I wanted to make sure I just acknowledged that. Any other thing to come before the council? If not, we're adjourned. Thank you.